Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mindbody Medicine for Chronic Pain podcast. My name is Sean Hershey, and I am your host. And welcome. Hello. Thrilled to have you here with me for this next step in the journey. Today, we are talking about somatic tracking and your daily practice. Those are the two topics we are going to be covering today. And I have to say, oh my God, I don't know, it was a few episodes ago. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to get through these podcasts a little faster and try to make it a little more condensed so that it's just a little more efficient. And then my dumb ass just went rambling on and on and on, but about topics that were really important and interviews that were really good. I mean, right? I hope that you've been following along with the podcast, because I think the last few interviews have been great. I think the last few episodes that I've done, where it's just me and you talking, I think those have been honestly pretty great as well. So yeah, it's like you try to keep it quick and move through fast, and I just ended up taking my sweet time, but I don't regret any of those decisions. Truly, I don't. But I am. Today I'm like, all right, let's get serious about this. Let's try to do this one in I don't know how long, but let's just try to make it not a super long one. That's my goal to myself for today. Okay, so it is late August. I hope you're having a good, late August, a good end of summer sort of vibe. Now that's the end of summer, but the late summer kind of vibe. I hope you're enjoying that and that that's going well for you in your life wherever you are. And honestly, if it's not, I hope you're okay with that too, because hey, isn't that how life goes? Some seasons just fucking suck a little bit, and that is okay too. And if so, that's where this podcast, if that's where this is landing for you, cool. Let it happen, because we don't want to be afraid of that. We do not need to be afraid of the bad times in life, because that's part of life too. And if we resist all of that negativity, we're just going to end up with chronic pain, chronic symptoms, and chronic conditions. So let it happen. And I guess if I'm thinking about my life, it's good and bad. In one day, I'm feeling happy and miserable, left out, annoyed, hateful, upset, but also having fun, laughing, enjoying myself, feeling loved, feeling excited, feeling hopeful, feeling grateful that I'm doing well with my chronic pain. Oh man, that's something I'm really feeling. So mixed bag. And I am working to embrace it all, and I just am hoping the same for you. Okay, so before we get started, let me just say, if you are enjoying the podcast, please rate the podcast, review the podcast. That would be greatly appreciated. You do that in the app where you're listening to the podcast. And share the podcast. If you have friends who are on this path, this mind body healing path, they're doing the TMS work. Yeah, share this with them. The episodes that make an impact on you, share it with your friends. That's the first thing. Second thing, if you want to take your healing deeper, if you're on the path and you're frustrated, if you're on the path and you feel like it's not going anywhere, if you're stuck, you're plateauing, this can get better. You have that deep knowing, but you question it, but you're not there yet, but you still fear your symptoms, but you're not sure what emotions you're missing, but you're not sure how to practice the self-compassion, the self-attunement. All of that, I would be very happy to help you with all of that. As you know, I'm a therapist, and I offer weekly individual psychotherapy. If you want to reach out to me, we can talk, and I can be your therapist. And that will be a really nice step for anyone who's stuck, anyone who's frustrated. That's a really nice step to getting unstuck and moving closer, moving much closer, taking all those steps down the path towards being free from chronic pain, chronic symptoms, and chronic conditions. You can reach out to me through my website, Mindbody Medicine for chronicpain.com or SeanHershey.com. They will both take you to the right place. And last thing, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I am there at MyGayTherapist. Okay, let's get into it for today. We are doing somatic tracking in your daily practice, so let's start with somatic tracking. Somatic tracking. This is funny because like multiple interview guests have now brought up like, oh, somatic tracking. Obviously, you talk about somatic tracking on this podcast, because it's like a mind body healing podcast. So obviously you're doing somatic tracking. And I'm like, you know what though? We don't really talk about somatic tracking. So today, like I feel like this has been kind of like a missing piece. So we're going to talk about it today. We're going to formalize that. And I'm thinking about somatic tracking is something that I know about. I'm trained in pain reprocessing therapy, so I've been trained in like how to practice somatic tracking, how to teach somatic tracking, and what my thing is that somatic tracking has never really landed so much for me or been a huge part of like my journey and my recovery. And so therefore I've just kind of been like, okay, like, back burner. But I'm realizing the error in my thinking there because like, while I'm like, attuning to my true self and somatic tracking doesn't like really speak to me and my brain and my experience. Okay, that's cool for me and my brain and my experience. But this podcast is not just for me. You know what I mean? This podcast is for you. So we're going to talk about somatic tracking today because even if it's not my, like it's not Sean Hershey's brains, like, healing tactic, a favorite healing tactic, maybe it's yours, maybe it's not your favorite, but maybe it's going to be important for you. So with an open mind, let's get into what is somatic tracking. All right. Somatic tracking is a mind-body practice that involves paying attention to physical sensations, usually like sensations that are associated with like the chronic pain, the symptoms, or the conditions. But it can be used for anything. It can be used for emotions. Somatic tracking can be used for anything that you feel in your body. Somatic tracking is paying attention to any sensation in your body through a lens of safety and not through a lens of fear. I'm going to say that part again because that is the key. It's not just about paying attention to your body because Lord knows all of us with chronic pain, we fucking pay attention to our bodies. Am I right? I mean, we also dissociate, because the pain sucks. So there's that too. But like a lot of us are pretty tuned in. Like we're paying attention. If you're like, how are you feeling? Miserable. My hip, my stomach, whatever it is for you. My head, my headaches, my fibromyalgia, everything hurts. My migraines, my plantar fasciitis is killing me. My knees, God, my knees. It's been decades with these bad knees. The slipped disc, which of course what that really is back pain caused by TMS. That you think it's your slipped disc, you believe that that's the trigger. All of these symptoms, we're paying attention. But here's the catch. With somatic tracking, this is not just about paying attention. This is about paying attention through a lens of safety and not through the lens of fear. So it's basically just tuning in, getting into a meditative state with yourself and your body and just tuning in. But The thing that we're really doing is we're not like the fear, notice the fear, respect the fear, tune into the fear, allow that, but do not let yourself get caught in the fear, because we're letting that go. We're tuning in through a lens of safety. If this is sounding to you like the way that I have taught about this stuff on the podcast, the way we heal from chronic pain is, number one, doing the psychological work to teach your brain and your nervous system that physical sensations are safe and that it's safe to be in your body. And then, number two is doing the emotional work, teaching your brain and your nervous system that it's safe to feel your emotions, all of your emotions. Then number three is teaching your brain and your nervous system that it's safe to be you, tuning into yourself, patiently attuning to your true self and teaching yourself that it is safe to be you. Somatic tracking is literally just a really nice way to, in a very succinct kind of materialized, this is how you do it way, to practice number one, the psychological work. This is a concrete practice that leads you to teaching your brain and your nervous system that it is safe to be in your body and to feel physical sensations. So, okay. This is a part of pain reprocessing therapy, somatic tracking. So I'm gonna, this is coming at you straight from the pain reprocessing therapy website. I'm gonna give this to you from the source. PRT, I believe, or no, excuse me, not PRT is pain reprocessing therapy. Somatic tracking, which is a technique that falls under the umbrella of pain reprocessing therapy. I believe somatic tracking was developed by Alan Gordon and his team. I could be wrong about that. Maybe I'm not giving exact correct credit where credit is due, but I believe that's right. If I'm wrong, you can contact me through my website and I will stand corrected. But I believe that that's right. So I'm going to read this, from the Pain Reprocessing Therapy website. We've developed a treatment approach called pain reprocessing therapy that aims to rewire neural pathways in the brain in order to deactivate pain. Yes, that's exactly what we are doing too on this podcast. Pain reprocessing therapy is a system of psychological techniques that retrains the brain to respond to signals from the body properly and subsequently break the cycle of chronic pain. One of the central techniques of pain reprocessing therapy is somatic tracking. Somatic tracking uses a combination of mindfulness, safety reappraisal, and positive affect induction. The purpose of somatic tracking is to help patients attend to the painful sensations through a distinct lens of safety, thus deactivating the pain signal. Absolutely. The whole thing is that pain is a danger signal. And what's happening when you're experiencing chronic pain? You're not actually there's no physical danger actually in your body. So these, there's a danger signal somewhere. Maybe the danger signal is emotional. That certainly is very possible. Maybe the danger signal is about your true self. Very possible. Maybe the danger signal is that you are so caught up in the pain threat cycle that every sensation that comes from whatever part of your body is the offender, the chronic pain problem. It's just always feeling like a threat because you're so used to that. And when you're caught in that cycle, somatic tracking is a great way to get out. So, okay. Somatic tracking has three parts, like was just mentioned. First, mindfulness. This is just tuning in, being present, being aware. That part, you've probably got it. I mean, if you're dissociated from your physical symptoms, then this is something to work on. Well, let me actually recommend this. Somatic tracking is a practice that I would recommend that you do as like a concrete practice. Like sit down, or however you want to do it, stand up, lay down, wherever you want to be, whatever's comfortable and good for you, and do somatic tracking in the same way that you would do journaling. Like this is a practice that I would recommend you like do it. And you do it for 2 minutes, do it for 5 minutes, do it for 10 minutes. Don't stress yourself out and do it for an hour. That's going to be it's not necessary. Like, stressing yourself out is counterproductive, and doing it for a super long time is not necessary. But, choose a couple minutes and take this as a time to practice somatic tracking. So when you're practicing, the first thing you want to do is tune in. Many of you are probably already doing that. If you're not, if you're not paying attention to the sensations in your body and you're actively like trying to dissociate from them, okay, this is the time to tune in. That's part 1, mindfulness. Part 2, safety reappraisal. This is so important. This is where you remind yourself, because the automatic thoughts that go along with the pain are typically like, there's something wrong with me. There's something like, I'll use my gut, for example. Like back when that was a big problem, the thoughts were just like, it's what I ate. It's what I just ate. Maybe I ate too fast. Maybe I didn't chew properly. Oh, my gut microflora must be really fucked up right now. Oh, this is only going to get worse. Literally, as I'm saying that, I can like feel my body reacting. Like these thoughts are stressful. So part 1 of somatic tracking, mindfulness, tune in. Part 2, safety reappraisal. What we're telling ourselves is this sensation is safe. There's nothing wrong with my body. And then whatever you need to hear, whatever you need to tell yourself, everything you know from the TMS world, Dr. Sarno's daily reminders, all of that stuff, everything that you need to remember and you need to hold, this is it. Hold that in mind. As you're feeling into the sensation in your body, also hold in mind, this is safe. There's nothing wrong with my body. This is, this might be an emotion. This is a danger signal, but this is not a danger signal that is because there is something structurally wrong with my body at the site of the pain. That is not the kind of danger that I am in right now. I know that because I have fully assessed this myself using the FIT criteria, which we've talked about in previous episodes. You can go back to what is TMS is one of the early episodes of this podcast. Go back and we go into the FIT criteria. There's another one in this season, which is think psychologically, not physically. Also, we go deep into the FIT criteria. That's how you make a diagnosis of TMS or a mind-body condition. You know you're safe. You know this is a mind-body condition. You know this is TMS, and you know that because you've gone through this diagnostic process with yourself and you're feeling confident. Maybe you've gone to see a doctor or a practitioner or somebody in the world of TMS and mind-body healing, and that person has helped you, and that person has helped you feel more sure about the diagnosis. Great. Hold that in mind. All of that, the safety reappraisal. Just paying attention to the quality of the sensation, knowing that it's safe. Pay attention to the intensity of the sensation, knowing that it's safe. You're healthy. Your body is healthy. Your muscles are healthy. Your bones are healthy. Your nerves are healthy. Everything is perfectly intact. Your brain and your nervous system are overreacting. Your brain and your nervous system are in a state of fear. Your brain and your nervous system are in a state of threat, but there's nothing actually wrong. How do you turn off the state of threat? By this, tuning in with a sense of safety. That's how you deactivate it. So, okay, part 1, mindfulness. Part 2, safety reappraisal. And part 3, positive affect induction. This is fun because you get to allow yourself to like feel positive stuff, and then that stuff gets associated with the pain and the sensations and the symptoms rather than like just fear. allow yourself to feel positivity. Like just allow that. Something that so that's parts 1, 2, and 3. 1, mindfulness. 2, safety reappraisal, and 3, positive affect induction. I was laughing because I was gonna say in the pain reprocessing therapy training, which I took, it's the positive affect induction. I was like, it was just like really uh, not my style. Like I love a good joke. I love, I'm totally down for some good laughs. I'm all about that. I hope that the purpose of this podcast is obviously to provide education and to provide company on the path that you're on, so you're not on the path alone. My hope is that there's some fun in here too, though. My hope is that like you're laughing along sometimes with me, and that we're having a good time. We're shooting the shit. There is, I hope there's a lot of positive affect induction going on for you as we are, as we're doing this podcast and as we're having these conversations. That said, the way that they trained us to do this in the pain reprocessing therapy training, I will just say it was very, very dad joke heavy. Very dad joke heavy. And Alan Gordon and team, if you are listening, I love you. And I love PRT and it's so helpful. But I'm like, your corny dad jokes are not gonna enter my therapy room. No way. Not my style. So I do positive affect induction in my own way while trying to steer clear of the corny dad jokes. That said, I'm like, hey, if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, your sense of humor is, you're so, you are a corny dad joke vibe person. If that's how you feel about me, fine, go ahead, whatever. Hey, you could even take this opportunity to write a written review and say, Sean Hershey makes a lot of corny dad jokes. 1 star. That's fine. Go ahead. Engagement is engagement. It's all good. But okay, so those are the 3 parts of somatic tracking. And I would really encourage you to do it as a practice, same as you would do journaling. Sit down, give yourself a couple minutes, and just do it. Feel into your sensations with a sense of safety. The one thing that I want to add to that, which isn't in this, like in these instructions, but it is, I remember them talking about it, and it is, I think it's very important because it really applies to me, and I'm sure it applies to some of you out there too. The phrase they used was, no hawk. I'll explain what that means. Not paying attention to your symptoms like a hawk. The hawk is the intensity, paying attention to your symptoms with like, beady eyes down, like, you're focused on your prey. You're ready to dive, ready to bite, to get it in your talons and, munch it up. And this is not what we're doing. I get it because I'm an intense person. I know. People are complex. It's like I'm chill, I'm fun, I'm casual, and I'm also pretty fucking intense at the same time. And I'm like, the intensity is what we're moving away from during somatic tracking. If you find yourself somatic tracking with the hawk energy, you're like hawking down on your symptoms. You have the beady eyes, the beak is like, pointed in the direction of the symptom, and you're like, I hate you. No. Take 10 steps back, because that's looking at your symptoms through that is not through the lens of safety. That's not the safety reappraisal lens. That is through the hawk lens, and we are doing no hawk. We keep the hawk out of somatic tracking. So those are the basics of somatic tracking, and a lot of people find this incredibly helpful. I mean, I highly recommend it because it is a great way to bring the psychological work to like make it, to like manifest it, to bring it, make it physical, like bring it into your life in a very concrete way. This is a great way to do that. Okay, let me just say that there's a lot of great resources for somatic tracking. Alan Gordon's book, The Way Out, deep dive into somatic tracking and other practices involved in pain reprocessing therapy. Great book that I highly recommend. It's The Way Out by Alan Gordon. Another thing is the Curable app. Curable has a lot of wonderful guided, like guided experiences, many of which are somatic tracking or somatic tracking related. Excellent thing to do. If you go on YouTube, I just typed in somatic tracking to YouTube. I'm looking at the results here. So many different things for you to practice or paths for you to go down. There's a lot of different options. So you can really, try a few different ones and then figure out, which of these really lands the best for you and you like the most. There's somatic tracking with Tanner Murtaugh. He's great. He's a chronic pain therapist in Canada. Here's one with Alan Gordon. Great. Here's one with the Steady coach, Yonit Arthur, I believe is her last name. Great. She's a doctor in this space. Great stuff. Great. Here's this guy. I don't know his name, but he looks legit. Yeah, search this on YouTube and you will have ample opportunity to get into some guided somatic tracking. Okay, so now you have a basic understanding of what somatic tracking is. You probably already have a basic understanding of what it is, but now you have it from me. And I hope that's helpful to you. I truly do. And what I will say is that how I'm saying for me, like it's just somatic tracking hasn't been a big part of like my own personal journey. The psychological work of healing chronic pain, that's what, somatic tracking is tuning into, tapping into, I guess I should say. That has been massive. So like I've said before, each of us who's healing is going to have a slightly different journey. Slightly different things are going to speak to us, are going to work for us, are going to heal us. But we are always going back to the basics. It's always going to be in the three categories of psychological, emotional, and patiently attuning to your true self. So, even if you're like me and somatic tracking isn't like, I don't know, it's just like not really your thing, that doesn't mean that the basic premise is not still, to quote Alan Gordon, the way out of chronic pain. Okay? That's important because different practitioners talk about this stuff in slightly different ways. And it can, you can get the message like, oh, everybody heals in a slightly different way, which is true. But then the like seedy underbelly of that message might be like, so I don't even know what to do. I'm lost. Oh God, there is no recipe. There is no clear path because like everybody needs something different. How am I going to know what I need? How's anybody going to know what I need? I am still lost. Okay. 10 deep breaths. Because that's not the problem anymore. That was the problem once when nobody knew how to help you. Now you found this. Even if I'm like, I can't tell you if somatic tracking versus journaling versus therapy versus what, I can't tell you exactly what recipe you need. I can tell you that it will come from these three categories: teaching your brain and your nervous system that 1, your physical sensations are safe, 2, your emotions are safe, and 3, it is safe to be you. 1, 2, 3, it will come from that. So don't fear. Don't fear that you're lost. Okay, so that is somatic tracking. Now we're going to get on to part 2 of this episode, and I wanted to this is going to be fun. So I'm asking you, what is your daily practice? Tune into that. Think about that. Ask yourself that question. As I'm asking this, acknowledge that with an answer. What is your daily practice? Let me tell just a brief story. So when when you're a social worker, a social worker training as a therapist, so you get out of school and then you have an MSW, a master's degree in social work. The next step is you take a test, and when you pass the test, then you're an LMSW, a licensed master social worker. Then you have to, as you can work as a therapist, but you have to be under the supervision of an LCSW, a licensed clinical social worker, and you have to do that for a certain number of hours and see a certain number of clients, and it has to be at least 3 years time. So when I was in my 3 years, I had I had a few different supervisors, but my longest, most like serious supervisor that I had during this time, and I was working at a public health clinic in New York, and then at a public high school. So the supervisor who I had at the time was great, and his name was Giorgio. And I learned a lot. Like I mean, that was like the basis of how I learned how to be a therapist. I learned a lot from him, and I learned a lot from the practice that I had at that time in those settings. And one of the things that he told me at one point was that he was like, "You never." We were talking about like confronting clients in therapy, and Giorgio, he was like confident and yet like soft, and he was like, you never have to confront a client. There's no need for confrontation. All you need is reflection. Which I think is hilarious and I love at the same time. It's hilarious because reflection is like like for example, it's like a soft confrontation. It's like a kind confrontation that's not confronting. It's just reflecting. If somebody's like, oh God, I want to stop smoking, but I'm smoking a pack a fucking day, rather than like, why are you smoking a pack a day? You're just like reflecting, like, okay, so your goal is to stop smoking, and I'm just noticing that you're saying like you are smoking a pack a day. And then you just let that hang. You just let it sit, because that oh, what's the word? Ambivalence. It's that ambivalence. And a part of me wants this, a part of me wants that. I'm ambivalent. I have multiple motivations. You just let that ambivalence hang, because it creates distress. It creates a little bit of anxiety. Like it creates some level of distress, and that helps create change in the client. So I am not confronting you. I am simply reflecting right now in this moment. What is your daily practice? Because maybe you feel confident in your daily practice. Maybe you're like, I journal regularly. Maybe you do somatic tracking. You allow yourself to meditate. You give yourself time to relax at the end of the day. You give yourself time to relax in between things. You try to notice when you're activated and stressed, or maybe you've really noticed when your symptoms are bad, and so you take time to like reflect, like, what is this? You give yourself space to think psychologically and not think physically. If so, awesome. If when I ask you the question, what is your daily practice, you're like, oh shit. If that to you feels like a confrontation, if that creates the distress, if the ambivalence is just hanging out there, blowing in the wind, know that I'm not confronting you like I was trained. I am just reflecting that you have a goal. You have a goal that's really serious and that really matters. Like, we want to get you out of chronic pain. That's your goal for yourself. That's my goal for you. Like, this fucking matters. Your life could be so much better. Imagine if you didn't have the pain, right? Imagine if you didn't have the symptoms. Imagine if you didn't have the conditions. Even imagine, as you're on this path, say you're not even at the place like I am, free from chronic pain. But imagine you're so much better. You're on your way, and you're well on your way. How great would that feel? Like, yeah, let's take this goal seriously. This matters. So that's your goal. And I'm asking the question, like, are you are you taking action to make it happen? Okay. Just something to think about, because listening to this podcast is great. And it's a very important way to get education. It's a very important way to get this information into your brain, which is huge. That's a huge part of the psychological work. And listening to one podcast once a week is not I mean, I think I can say it's not enough. Maybe for some people it is enough, but for most people it's not. A daily practice is important. Journaling, somatic tracking, using the Curable app, educating yourself, therapy, giving yourself space to think psychologically and not think physically, giving yourself, I mean, maybe it's some people, they have Dr. Sarno's daily reminders taped up somewhere. They have it as a note saved on their computer, a note saved on their phone, and they go back to it. Great. All of these things are going to be so helpful in rewiring your brain. Rewiring the brain takes repetition and it takes practice. So give yourself repetition and practice. When I ask the question, what is your daily practice? Truly, I encourage you to answer that question. And if you don't like your answer, great. Then if you're also like, why am I not getting better? Okay. Then this is at least gotta be part of the answer. Give yourself time and space to actually, do the repetition and practice to rewire the brain. Just let yourself have that. Let yourself have that. Okay, that said, here's another reflection for you, not a confrontation, but a reflection. When you're developing your daily practice, you know it's all about safety. Getting out of chronic pain, releasing chronic symptoms, getting past chronic conditions. It's all about relaxing, releasing, letting go, accepting sensations, accepting emotions, accepting yourself. Right there, those are the three parts. Are you making this stressful? Are you, when you're trying to relax, you're trying to release, you're trying to let go, you're trying to accept, are you actually making this incredibly fucking stressful? Are you making healing stressful? Are something that I notice myself doing a lot while journaling is like I try to like I do it on the computer usually, and I'll just like I will catch myself trying to type as fast as possible. Like, how many words can I get in? How many ideas can I cram into this? Get it all out, get it all out, get it all out. No. I have really tried to stop myself from that, and I encourage you to stop yourself from doing that specific thing and that kind of thing. That's an example of what I'm talking about here. Are you making your healing stressful? Because that's not productive. Maybe your daily practice, when I ask the question, what's your daily practice? Maybe you have a super rigid, like this is me. Like this is the problem I fall into. I'm not the type, I respect this type who's like, I just haven't gotten around to doing it. I know I want to, do somatic tracking, journal, meditate. I know I want to do that, but I just don't do it. Like I respect that, but I'm also like, that's not me. I'm the type who's like, I will do it, but I will do it in a super rigid, unhelpful way. So this is my invitation to those to all. My invitation to if you don't have a daily practice, okay, start thinking about actually developing one. If you do have a daily practice, but it's really stressful and rigid and overwhelming, okay, start thinking about changing your daily practice to make it actually effective. Okay? Maybe your daily practice is too much. Maybe for you, what you really have to do is like do less. You know? The tools are not the ends in themselves. The tools are a means to the end. Tools being journaling, somatic tracking, therapy, coaching appointments, the education, listening to the podcast, reading the books. Those tools are so helpful because they are a means to the end, but they are not the end in themselves. They are not the end in themselves. Go back. I would really encourage you to go back if you haven't already. Listen to Christina Way, who came on this podcast, this season 2, episode 7. What she says, I think she summed this exact point up so beautifully. The goal is learning to develop self-compassion, not self-esteem. self-compassion. And the goal, the real goal at the center of all of this is to practice unconditional love for yourself. That is the practice that will save you. That is the spiritual practice, if you want to call it that, if you want to see it that way. That is a spiritual practice that, like, that is it. That is also the practice that will heal your chronic pain, your chronic symptoms, and your chronic conditions. Now, much easier said than done. Learning to practice unconditional love for yourself. Yeah, much easier said than done. How do you get there? That's where you need the tools. That's where you need the somatic tracking, the therapy. That's where you need the tools. And especially, I think, for that, you need a way to, like, really tune into yourself and really find out, who am I really? Who have I not been allowed to be, but I am anyway? What is me? What are these emotions I have? What are the drives I have? Who is this? This consciousness is arising from who? Me? Who's me? Tuning into yourself is so important, because when you're thinking about, like, unconditional love for yourself, you have to have a sense of yourself to know who you're practicing unconditional love for. That helps you get through all the conditionality that has been placed on us and that we now place on ourselves. All that, I need to be this way, I need to be that way, I can't be this way, I can't be that way, I can't feel these emotions, I shouldn't feel those emotions. All that threat, because you are who you are no matter what. And all that conditionality, it just pushes down who you really are. Who you really are is going to exist anyway. There is no changing that. And if you see it as a threat, if you push it all away and you're like, no, 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 threat, bad. Yep. That tension, that threat, that danger signal, that is going to cause the chronic pain. So the goal is unconditional love for yourself. Feverishly journaling or madly somatic tracking at all hours of the day, is that going to get you there? No. Is gently journaling and practicing somatic tracking with curiosity and openness going to get you there? Yes. Yes, it is. So, do you need to develop a daily practice? You're the one who needs to answer that question, not me, because I don't know. I don't know what category you fall into here. Do you need to chill? Again, I don't know. You're the one who needs to answer that question, because I don't know. This is for you to this is for you to answer. Okay, there we go. A nice podcast, under an hour. Yes, congratulations. We did it. Okay, this has been fun. So there is some information about somatic tracking and some encouragement about your daily practice and how to bring this into your life so that you actually leave yourself the space to rewire your brain so that you can heal. Okay. Like I said at the top, if you're interested in weekly individual therapy, yes, I'm available, and I would love to meet you and get to know you and get to know your story and help you. I would love that. What you can do if you're interested is go to my website, mindbodymedicineforchronicpain.com or seanhershey.com. Both of them go to the same place. And from there, you fill out the contact form, and then we would have a consultation, which is free. And then from there, you decide if you want to get set up for weekly appointments. If you're enjoying the podcast, by all means, please rate and review. Even if you're not, say okay. Say you want to give it a 4-star rating. Say it's like it works for you, but like you've heard better. That's cool. Give it 4 stars. Right that you like it, but you don't love it. Fine. Give it 3 stars. Give it 2 stars. Give it 1 star. Just engage. I would love to I would love to have you engage. I'm engaging with you. It would mean a lot for me to have you engage back. I would appreciate that. And then the last thing, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I am there at @mygaytherapist. Okay, awesome times, great times. Hopefully not dad humor times, but if you hate my sense of humor, you know what to do. Head over to Apple Podcasts, give it a 1-star rating, and say, I hate Sean Hershey's sense of humor. And I will plan to see you next week.